We've made a good start to life in Turkey, but it all goes up a gear today as second place take on third. So as you can see from the table on screen, we have closed the gap on the leaders. We are now within 2 of Trabzonspor and Besiktas, and we are chasing them hard, but it's Trabzonspor that we're playing today. And then in our next fixture after that, we have Besiktas away. These 2 games could make a huge difference to deciding where we're going to finish this season. So as results on screen indicate, the players have performed incredibly well since we took over. In our first episode with Fenerbahce, you saw us kick things off with a 5-2 win. There's only been 1 game since then where we've not scored at least 3 goals. The game that we didn't score 3 goals in would be costly, but let's talk you through our results. We had a little run of home games after our first episode. The first was against Konyaspor, where we managed to win 4-1. The goals were shared by Umit and Chukovan. Umit opening the scoring for us before Chukovan added a second just after the break. It looked like we might have let Konyaspor back in the game, but Umit added his second on 66 minutes and Chukovan completed the scoring on 72. After the Konyaspor game, it was Sivasspor, another home tie, and Chukovan did all of the work for us on this occasion. He had us 2-0 up at the break, scoring in the 10th minute and then again in the 23rd. And he completed his hat-trick when on the 53rd minute, he managed to score for us again. After that, we were into cup action, playing a Konyaspor side who we'd just beaten 10 days previously, and we performed even better against them this time. We managed to knock 5 goals in past them. We only conceded 1, and we were even able to play a few of our youngsters in this game, as well as resting some of our bigger names once the tie seemed won. However, in our next game, Hatayspor proved pretty stubborn opponents. Temel scored for us in the first half, but we had to wait all the way until the 75th minute before Sabri scored a second, and then substitute Dervishoglu scored a late third. But if Hatayspor were stubborn opponents, in our next game, Manisa were downright obstinate. Again, we took the lead. It was Chukovan again. He's on a fabulous goal-scoring streak, but we let our opponents in to equalise in the 40th minute. But despite our best efforts and having an XG approaching 4 and having chance after chance to win the game in the second half, unfortunately we came up blank. We weren't able to score the second goal, and it was 2 points dropped in our chase of the leaders at the top of the table. Fortunately, in our next game, we were back to winning ways. Chukovan scored just before half-time, before Joran Carlson scored a rare goal for us, and Francisco Moura got forward to slot home the third. Which brings us to our most recent game, which was against a Giresunspor side that you saw us take on in the last episode. At this time, we were playing them in the Turkish Cup, and we made fairly light work of them, beating them 4-0, a win that now sees us into the semi-final of the Cup, where we are likely to be taking on Trabzonspor if they can win their quarter-final tie. You'll see Besiktas are still in the competition, and Galatasaray are through to the semi-finals, so there could be some very big teams in that Final Four. But today, we've got to take on Trabzonspor in the league, and they are going to be very difficult opponents. So whereas at Sampdoria, I feel I struggled to find a tactic that got the best out of the players at our disposal, I think at Fenerbahce we've hit on a winning formula from the off. I have made a little tweak to the tactic since our first episode, but it's very mild. It's actually one that was suggested by the comment section. Originally, I was playing Umit as a flying winger, even though his acceleration is not great. Well, due to his passing, his technique, and his vision, one eagle-eyed commenter suggested, well, why don't you play him as an advanced playmaker on the right-hand side instead? I've not had an awful lot of luck with wide playmakers in FM22. Maybe I've not had the right player before because Umit has adapted to it perfectly. You can see that he has been knocking over the assists over the last 4 or 5 games or so. In fact, since we moved him to be an advanced playmaker, he's got 6 assists and a goal, averaging above a 7, even an 8 in most of those games. So that has been a triumph. The other 2 players that have been incredibly strong over recent games have been Konstantin Chukovan. If we show you his form, I think there's only 1 game since we took over where he's not scored a goal, and even in that one, he laid on an assist for a teammate. He has been prolific. And the other player that's been strong has been Joran Carlson, who we've been playing as a centre-half when we first took over whilst we had suspensions, But since then, we've moved him to play in front of the back four, and he has been absolutely superb. Again, he's been regularly getting above a 7. In the last 2 games where he scored, he's actually got above an 8, and he's been a really steadying influence at the back, even though we're playing him on a support duty. And ostensibly, I think he's a very defensive player who's more comfortable playing at centre-half. We've been asking him to do a job in our midfield, and he's been doing it well. However, today is our first test against a really top opponent. Let's show you what Trabzonspor have to offer in today's Scout Report. Today we welcome opposition from the northern coastal town of Trabzon. Trabzonspor have a rich history and were crowned champions in 2022. They'll bring a passionate following with them as coach Alexei Beretsutsky charges for the title. This could be a crucial game as Fenerbahce take on Trabzonspor. So I think we all know it was a little bit of a gamble taking over at Fenerbahce, but if we could win the next 2 games, it might be a gamble that could pay off. Temel sends in a very early corner for us, and that man that we highlighted, Carlsen, gets up at the near post. Unfortunately, he's nodded it just wide. If we pause the game and get the league table back up on the screen, you'll see that a win today would see us leap above Trabzonspor by a point. And then in our next game, we've got Besiktas. Back-to-back wins could be huge for our season. We could have taken over a club that was in 6th, 7th place when we arrived, and we've got a chance of a double. But if we lose the next 2 games, well, all of that could come crashing down. Trabzonspor go close with that chance on 16 minutes. We could do with finding an opener before half-time. Trabzonspor are coming forward again. They're starting to play their way into the game a little bit, which is ominous for us. They've sent a long ball forward, which we've won. Temel picks the ball up, and he's now travelling cross-field. The ref gets in the way. Temel has to dribble past him. He's now out over on the right wing. I think he's got lost. He's misfollowed his directions, but now we've got a cross gone into the box, and Chukovin has been taking those kind of chances over the last few weeks. He's narrowly wide on that occasion. We've got a free kick now. We've started to just assert our dominance a little bit. We've had 9 shots, 5 on target, as Temel slings in a wicked ball. Umit has a header. Their keeper tips it off the line, but we are looking pretty likely. Our XG is above 1, but we need that goal now. We've got the ball with our right back, Fabio. It's a poor cross, and he was crossing to 5'3" Temel. We've got low crossing on. He didn't take heed of that little notification, and now we've managed to win the ball back again. Temel goes for an aerial chance. He's not going to be the greatest in the air, and now Trabzonspor are through, clear on goal. Olafsson saves. That was an important stop. It shows what a threat Trabzonspor can still be on the break, and they've got a set piece that we've got to try and clear now. They've sent it into the box. We have cleared it well, and we've got our little man up front that's going to chase it down, and Temel tackles well. We're racing to half-time. We really should have found the breakthrough, I think, in that first half. We should be a goal in the lead, and we're not. This has the look of a tie that could be incredibly close. We've got some good performances from our players, even though we haven't found the breakthrough. Chukovin's the player I'm looking at and expecting a little bit more from, as well as Umit. We've gone all the way to 63 minutes before we get our first highlight of the game. Temel has been heavily involved. He's been fouled, and I think our opponents are about to go down to 10 men. Maybe that might mean that some gaps appear on the pitch, but can we take advantage of them? On 66 minutes, I think it's time we look at our first substitution. We've made a couple of changes, both of them in central midfield, but a lot of time is ticking by and we're not creating any highlights. We've got all the way to the 83rd minute and still no opportunities are coming. I think we might need to change our formation. We've got lots of tired players. I think we're going to take Carlsen off and we're going to bring on a second striker to play up front with Chukovin, who has been very poor this afternoon. We're going to go with a brace of advanced forwards to see whether we can find the breakthrough. The man we've brought on is not too bad a player. This is Ali Yakar, who is fairly quick and has got good finishing and composure. So hopefully, if a chance comes his way in the final 7 minutes, he'll be able to take it. But we've not created a single highlight since they had the man sent off. We're going to throw out another shout of demand more. It's a chance, it's a highlight, but this one's not for us. If we go down in this game after they've been reduced to 10 men, that will be a very poor result, and Olafsson has to make a smart stop and make sure that that doesn't happen. I don't think we're going to find the breakthrough this afternoon. This is disappointing given the match stats, and that draw could be costly because Besiktas have won their game and they've stretched their lead over us to 4 points. It means that we've got to beat Besiktas in our next game. Otherwise, we're going to be 7 points behind them and the title is going to be gone. This means our next episode is going to be a huge one.